Jay Lane of Ontario, Canada is no sideshow seller of psychic development. This woman was gifted by God at an early age through a near-death experience. She suppressed her gifts due to the religious right's impact in Catholicism in Canada, but after years of service in government, where she was trusted with many people's lives, she came to terms with her gifts of the Spirit, which many non-believers and believers alike make fun of, as if they know the heart of God. Yet her message is grander than they can handle. Medium Jay Lane promotes hope. She gives organizations, professional associations, and men and women of all ages secrets to successfully living in the present from people of our past. People of faith know legacy and lineage is gifted by no man. Rhetoric cannot withdraw the power of spirit in her life. Men go to this woman for wit and wisdom. Professional women go for help and healing. Her main process is delivering messages. She has a story worth a movie script because she delivers hope to people who have lost loved ones. Those who know loss understand the power this woman possesses. In these marketing minutes, we are talking to a medium who makes people feel good. What a gift to give to others. Thank you, Jay Lane, for being on my audiocast. First and foremost, what's it like as a medium?
Well, thank you so much, Blake, for having me on today, and I'm so excited to be here. But as a medium, my job really consists of helping people understand where they come from, why they're here, and where we go after we leave this earthly plane. So I think that when people understand that, it's really arming them with the information that they need to experience a happy and a productive life here.
Many people feel that Lord God does not help others like this. My take is the Bible completely clarifies this fact that those who are worthy get gifts. How humbling is it to see what you see and know what you know?
You know, my mother used to tell me that a gift meant that God's influence flows through, and I used to deny my gifts. You know, I was embarrassed. I've come out of my spiritual closet since then, but I'm so honored to be helping so many people, no matter who they are, what they practice, or who they worship. I respect really all cultural beliefs, and we're all so connected. So I've learned so much from my brother, who also practices his chaplaincy in all denominations. And you know, I've been given a big job here on earth, and I fully accept how I'm best to serve people.
Men and women long to hear about the other side. Why do you think that is?
I think they need to know that their loved ones are around. I think they need to have the validation that there is another side, and that really there is something after we leave here. So many people are, you know, fear-based, and you know, they want to believe that there's something else after we leave this earthly plane.
So you are sort of a celebrity in Canada. What should a man or woman learn from the spirit world?
Men and women across the world are really looking for hopes in their lives, and it's my belief that when they learn about Holy Spirit, about what it's like on the other side, it just makes life a little easier to live in the present, and allows them to heal, to move on to more productive lives and relationships.
People's souls need to be fed in order for them to achieve their greatest good for themselves in this world. When a medium gives a reading, how can a person know it's real and not like Steve Martin's old film, Leap of Faith, where his staff gathered information from the internet and audience conversations?
Yeah, you know, that makes me laugh a little bit. I truly understand what you're saying, but when it's for real, like, people know that Spirit has spoken. You know, Spirit gives me details of very personal or very private information that's not usually known to anyone else, and it validates their experience in terms of dates or times or specifics that only the spirit world would know about their lives. You know, the premonitions that I receive give people insight and helps them prepare for upcoming events or experiences in their lives, and people are always welcome to put together an event where I can share my abilities with family, with friends, and colleagues.
People could learn a lot from you. How do you help them to learn to use their intuition?
I absolutely love that question, and thank you so much for asking. And, you know, I believe that when it comes down to that, it's really trusting what it is that you're feeling or sensing. And so many people are fear-based, so they don't really trust what it is that they're sensing. And so I absolutely love teaching a little bit about all of the clair senses and how they would apply to a certain person. So we go through all of these things, and then we do exercises on how to trust that intuition, you know. listening to your physical reaction and, doing what feels right for you and, centering yourself and doing what brings you joy and paying attention especially to dreams or to different feelings that one has. And there are so many different exercises that people can do in terms of questioning their higher self, really is what intuition is, and what they should do about a situation or what they need to know about a certain type of problem they're going through. What answers may come to them in a variety of ways in terms of feelings or words or images or body senses. And once they start to really feel those things, they start to trust a little bit more, their life path and what they should do about certain experiences to bring them to a more happy and fulfilled life. So it's really an amazing thing when you see that person open up and flourish.
How do you get messages?
Something that I still ask myself very, very frankly, and the thing is, it's something that's just a very natural ability for me, and I've learned over the years as to how people have classed these abilities or gifts, and they're called clairsenses, and usually this phrase corresponds to seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, tasting, touching, and the translation is to clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairtangency, clairgustance, Clair Empathy, and even channeling. But when we talk about this, psychics will have what's called clear vision, clairvoyance, and clair simply means clear in French, but most mediums will have clairvoyance and clairaudience, like clear audio or hearing, and it's tapping into sounds or words or noises that are really inaudible to others, coming from sources from spiritual or other realms. And clairaudience or even clairvoyance use their inner sight or their inner ear rather than their physical to receive information that comes from other sources beyond the limits of time and space. So when people hear, sometimes when they're in trance or meditating, different things like that, but mostly mediums will work with clairvoyance and clairaudience. With myself, I have these two abilities, but I also have what's called clairsentience, which is a clear sensation or feeling, and it's really to perceive information by a feeling within the whole body without being influenced by any outside sources. I also have what's called Clair Empathy, which is a clear emotion. An empath is really a person who can physically tune in to an emotion, being of a person or a place or even an animal. And it's really to feel within oneself, emotionally, physically, or mentally, another person or their being. And you sense that vibration or aura of others. And we also have what's called clairscent. I also have that, and that's a clear smelling. When we smell perfume or food or odors, when nothing really is in present space or, without really using any physical nose or anything like that. So it's really out beyond the limits of time and space. There's also clairgustance, clear tasting. I also have that. So I'm actually able to taste what people eat. Or clairtangency used to be known as psychometry, but it's handling objects, that kind of thing, with feeling or perceiving, information about an article that a person's holding, or really the history relating to that article, which is not known to the clairtangent. And then there's channeling, and that's, I do that as well because I channel spirit. But a lot of people use their whole body or their mind as a way of communication from one consciousness to another, and the channel will talk about what he hears or sees or smells, or some of them use their voice, their body language, or their characteristics to deliver that information that's being received from an outer source. So I'm very lucky I have all senses, and
sounds like quite a lot of pressure from God in terms of your responsibility, because if you have all those senses at all the time, it seems like you'd be on hypersensitive overload of some sorts. Or do you have a way to sort of shut things off when you're at home with your family, or do people, kind of walk in the room who aren't really there and say, "Hi, I'd like you to tell so-and-so that I'm, looking after their lives," or, how does that exactly work in the day-to-day of a medium? Because I think a lot of people make fun of you guys, and it's not really fair, because you are really being gifted a life of legacy, in order to the fact that you have a responsibility of sorts sometimes to tell people the good, the bad, the ugly, the most important aspects of life, prophetic gifts of some sort, and preventing them from getting harmed or something. But it seems like a lot of pressure. How do you handle it all at the same time like that?
Well, I'm going to tell you, you can't turn it off. And so it's a very natural ability. It's like asking someone to go blind for 5 minutes. You can't do it. So it's the same thing with me. And it's funny because I live across from a cemetery and a crematorium, and my next door neighbor is the local is the local embalmer. But I'm going to tell you that it's just a very natural thing. I've been doing it for so long, and it's just part of who I am, that really it doesn't bother me at all. Some people feel exhausted from it. It can be very exhausting when you're channeling, and especially when you're giving out a lot of information, and especially when you're doing large shows. If I have an audience of like anywhere from 200 to 1,200 people, it's very, very tiring. So after I'm done, I'm telling you, I have to sit down and just take 5 minutes and a nice little breather and a cup of tea. But other than that, really, it's just part of who I am. No, you can't turn it off.
How do you help people dealing with loss?
Essentially, what I would do is I would help a person raise their vibration, feel a little bit more confident within themselves, but also educate them about, where does that soul come from? Why was it here, and where did it go afterwards? To give them more comfort, because people need to know where souls go after they leave this earthly plane. And once you have an understanding of that, I find there's a healing process that comes along with it, because people need to know that their loved ones aren't upset with them on the other side, but they continue on, and that they're so thankful, for having had the opportunity of sharing that life with you here. And once we pass over, and once we go to the other side, we'll have a complete understanding of that. But we're human, and we live on this earthly plane, and we have feelings and emotions, and of course, it's not as easy for us as it is for them.
What are the challenges of dealing with someone who's grieving?
It's hard to get somebody to jump for joy, to get excited about life when they feel they don't have any. So when I deal with these people, I show them different techniques that were shown to me by my mother that really helps the person get excited again. And it's actually been very successful with the work that I've been doing. And when people start to get excited, they start to want to live again. And they have hope, they have aspirations for, doing things, and wanting to go out, meeting with people. And it starts to change things around. But this technique for me has been truly amazing.
People could really benefit from going to some of your courses and seminars, especially those who've lost loved ones or people who've lost the rights in other people's lives. And that is something that we really have happening in this world today, that people just say, talk to the hand or we're done, and they don't really look at how much that impacts another person's soul to feel such rejection in life. But openly, what you're really talking and professing about is helping people to discover a life worth living and how to energize themselves. And how do you do that?
Well, I do a jump for joy in the morning with people, or I do different things. Really, essentially, what I'm trying to do with them is trying to raise their vibration so that when the vibration is high, they're essentially attracting the very same energy to themselves. Because, of course, you're catching the wave. People know you're excited and happy. You're going to be getting smiles all day long rather than people that are grumpy. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, if you're late for work and, oh, geez, I'm having a terrible day, and, oh, I spilled my coffee. Next thing you know, oh, I have the train I have to wait for now, and, oh, now I'm late for lunch. It's just when the vibration is low, it continues as a pattern. But when you're having a high vibration day, of course, then you're attracting all of that to you, and that's much better than attracting something low. So I love to raise people's vibration. Even before I do a show, I get people to dance and get excited, because when you raise vibration, you get much of the same back, but then you get a lot of spiritual activity with that as well. And I love that because spirits have very, very high, I guess, way of the spirits influence us every single day in our lives. They bring people to us. They bring different situations to us. They try to help us with what it is that we need, in our lives at that present time. So I find that when you're raising that vibration, you're attracting more spiritual help as well. And so I find it's really important to teach people about that.
How do you help people to know what is right in their souls for them?
I think it really has to do with just being genuine, and we have been so conditioned, through our upbringings to live within the four walls of someone else's reality. And what happens is we tend to take those four walls with us when we move out of those situations. And the thing is, we're living on old belief systems. We're living out of fear. We're living, out with these different types of sensation, because everybody has these gifts. Everybody has this ability to feel or sense or hear, or and the thing is that just so conditioned to so many different fear factors that they don't really go outside of that box to reach out or stretch or to develop themselves, so to really make them connect with themselves and to trust themselves when that they're feeling something, that they can really act on it, and that it's okay to act on it, and not to worry about something that hasn't happened yet, because fear is always tomorrow, right? It hasn't happened yet. So it's really quite incredible.
How can someone project a life that they're longing to live through what they believe in their hearts, minds, and souls? Is there something that a person can do in terms of loving on something or someone to help bring about a life that is happier and more healthy for their spirit and their love of life?
That's such an amazing question, Blake. I believe that a lot of people sabotage themselves again with fear. And when they understand fear, and that fear is really empty, they're able to move forward to something much more productive. Because a lot of people, they want to do something, but they don't believe in themselves, or they don't think that they're able to do it. But anybody's really able to do anything that they really put their mind to. We were created, as my mother used to say, in His image. What is that? That is one of a creator. You don't have to have children to really create your life. What you think becomes things. What you think really is something that you're creating within your mind to actually become a product of what's around you, because everything around you was once a thought or a want or a need. And the thing is, at the end of the day, people want things, but they don't believe they can have them, so they sabotage themselves. And it's just to open up that door to really make them understand that their imagination is the key to really bringing anything that they desire forward, but it's to go without fear. And that once we get through that barrier, the sky's the limit.
How many readings do you give a week?
Well, it all really depends, but my professional practice serves all walks of life, people, many stages of life. And my office hours are usually between 10 and 4 p.m., but it really depends on my touring schedule.
Do people receive the same messages?
I believe my messages are always different. Every single reading is different. Every single time I see somebody, they're always getting something different, because it's what's going on around them at that time that spirit is really essentially talking to them about. Or it could be that they talk to them about something that happened in the past that they need to forgive themselves for, or something that they're preparing them for the future, that they need to be, armed with information, or prepared for whatever challenge that may be coming up for them. But at the end of the day, I think that spirit is pretty amazing when it comes down to giving a person what they really need to know at the time that they see me.
How does that work exactly? Do you have a specific spirit guide that you know by name who's always along with you on your journey? Do other people's spirit guides or family members or loved ones kind of come into the presence while you're with them in a reading? I mean, how does that exactly function? Does your spirit guide talk to their spirit guide, and then you get the information passed around like telephone tag? I mean, most people kind of are curious about how that information comes through you in a way that makes sense to you, and then turn it around into a language and vocabulary that makes sense to the other person. I mean, it's almost like you're an interpreter. I mean, you already speak French, so that's incredible, but obviously you're also interpreting across cultures and age demographics and all sorts of things when you're doing readings for total strangers. How does that work exactly?
I just tell people what I hear, see, sense, smell. And it's these impressions or different things, and a lot of it has a lot to do with my own experiences as well. So sometimes I may get a feeling about something that's happened to me that was not a pleasant experience, and I'm going to tell a person, look, I'm feeling exactly like this, and they go, okay, that's what I'm going through right now. Perfect. This is what happened to me, and they say, well, geez, funny you should mention that. I had something very similar. So it's amazing. So sometimes Spirit will show me my brother. So my brother, why am I seeing my brother? Well, it could be because the Spirit that I'm channeling has the same name as my brother, or the same date of birth, or the same time of birth, or, but it's amazing. It's like sign language from the dead, I call it. And it's not to be disrespectful. It's just I have my own little system. If I see, let's see, a red roof, it can mean 10 different things to me. If I see the number 17, I know it sounds silly, but it's electricians or welders, or July 1st to the 17th. If I see the number 22, for me, they're talking about twins or adopted or fostered children. So it comes to me various types of ways, and I just kind of put it all together and I tell a story, but the person can always relate to it. And especially when I'm seeing the clock, when I tell them I see a clock and I give them the time, it's either a date of death or a date of birth, and they usually, or a time of death, I should say, or a time of birth, and they usually know right away that Spirit's there, because they can usually validate that quite quickly. But it just really all depends on the person in front of me. There are some people that come to see me that I feel absolutely nothing, and I always tell them, I'm very sorry, but I'm not feeling anything around you. And it's not because they don't have Spirit around them. It could be their belief system, it could be that they're not ready for a message, or it could be that they haven't learned their lesson. But I'm very honest with those people, because they need that honesty. I can't sit there and tell somebody something they want to hear, just for a matter of getting paid for it. I don't think it's right, and I think it's unethical. I think that people want to hear things, and the thing is, I can only tell them what I'm getting, and if I'm not getting anything, I have to tell them that as well. So I think it's a lot to do with the person and how they perceive what they're going to get as well, and some people expect quite a bit out of someone like me, but at the end of the day, they're looking for answers, and they're looking for peace, and they're looking for closure, and I understand that totally. But I become very fearless in what it is that I do, because I know that this is my passion. I know that this is my given path, and I know that this is what I have to do in order to help others.
So what I've heard you say a lot about is kind of a spiritual shorthand that is gifted to you in a way that makes sense to you, and then you share that information, and the individual then takes away from it what's going on in their lives. And that's really a wonderful process and a part of kind of the human spirit in order to be able to share those little pieces of information in a way that makes sense to them. Not only are you providing people information about their lives that you would have no way to know, probably, having never met them before, especially if they're total strangers to you and they're not on a retained type of schedule where they come and see you monthly or something like that, but in reality, you have this responsibility to give them information that can put and make their minds go to peace or hope or laughter or joy or sorrow or all sorts of emotions, and it must be sort of exhausting to go through all those cycles with them. It sounds like you've produced for yourself an amazing journey of sorts. Lots of wonderful things are coming up for you this year. You're moving your practice into America, you're coming here for events, and men and women might like to get a reading from you to check their own lives. How can they do that?
Well, there's so many ways that people can connect with me. I produce events for corporations, organizations who bring me in to entertain and educate their people. And my events are incredibly lively. They're full of laughter, and women's networking associations, moms groups hire me to teach seminars on a variety of spiritual topics, and, to provide them with wit and wisdom, and that's what I do best.
Men who give legacy to others may be listening today. If they would like to help you share your gifts with their employees for entertainment and education, can they call your office to schedule an event for their city, community, or congregation or corporation?
Absolutely. CEOs are always welcome to call my office number. Executives, professional people may contact me. And my phone number is 705-585-2822. They can email me at j@mediumjlane.com.
I just want to thank you for our time today, because I know that you have many clients to attend to, and that we really probably should begin to wrap up because we've been at this a little while. Thank you, Jaylene, for being with me today. As always, I enjoy our conversation.
Thank you so much, Blake. I really enjoyed my time with you, and I want to send everybody a virtual hug.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome.